Working in a small garage shop means every inch counts.
That's what she said.
Instead of wasting time dragging tools around, I built this mobile workbench that holds my table saw, miter saw, and planer all in one rolling station. And I still have room for my future bandsaw, dust collection, and storage, or another tool. Let me show you how I put it together and why it saves me a ton of time so you can get more projects done without the shop shuffle. This cart is designed to maximize efficiency in a small space. I can roll it into the driveway when I need extra room, and every tool is ready to use in seconds. I started with a sturdy frame, making sure the dimensions fit my table saw, miter saw, and planer. Strength is key, but mobility was the main goal. Each tool has a designated spot. The miter saw sits flush with the bench, the planer tucks underneath, and the table saw has plenty of outfeed space. I will add storage underneath for blades, bits, and clamps, small things that will always get misplaced. And with heavy-duty casters, I can roll the whole setup anywhere I need, locked down, and it's rock solid. If you're short on shop space, a mobile workbench like this can save you time, space, and headaches. So stick around for the build details, and maybe you'll get some ideas for your shop.
And since this thing is going to be so massive, we're going to need a lot of wood. So I was looking at prices and kind of measuring out how much I'm going to need. So I decided the most cost-effective way was to get a bunch of 2x10s and just rip them down to the size that I need. And ultimately, that was a good decision because that pile was a whole lot better than 2x4s. Now, I still had to kind of dig through it at the store, but I saved myself a lot of time. These were really straight, not too bad. If I was going to be getting some 2x4s, man, those things were like those spiral noodles or curving like an S. I don't like getting 2x4s. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and rip these down to size, get them at the table saw, and start working on that frame. All right, so now that they're all ripped down to size, now we got to cut them to length. And I really wasn't sure on how to build this, so I'm glad I was able to use SketchUp to go ahead and build this as a 3D model. So now I've got all my dimensions laid out. I can kind of see what it's going to look like in the future. So if you guys haven't used SketchUp, I recommend it. It's super easy to use and it's free as far as like the online version, but they do have like paid things. And you can probably try and find another 3D model software that's probably better, but like I said, it's basic and I like it, and so it's gonna help me out with this project. Anyways, so we're gonna be cutting these down on the miter saw just because super easy crosscuts. It's a little surprising now, huh? Not using my table saw. I also rarely use this miter saw stand thing, but we're gonna try it out and see if we can kind of get some repeatable cuts. It definitely works for this longer wood. I'm just not quite sure how to set up like a stop block or anything, as well as if I had like an actual, custom built stand or anything that you always see people make. So that's why we're building this.
Then it's time for pocket holes. Lots and lots of pocket holes. Luckily, I did upgrade my drill bit with this Milescraft one, and it just tears through the wood. So after drilling all of those holes, you know what I had to do. Clamp and screw. I grabbed a couple of my right angle clamps because I wasn't sure which would work better. And honestly, they both work great, but the single clamp was a little faster.
So we ended up getting a surprise shower yesterday, so I didn't really get to finish anything, but I got a little bit of the base done, right? And then I had to clean everything up. But we're going to continue with our cuts, and it looks like this little half rigged up stop block is working well for this. So we're going to make a couple more cuts and put this thing together. So after getting the bottom frame built, it's time to move on to the platform for the table saw. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a few pocket holes in this around here. And that way, when I get ready to do my vertical boards, I can just fine tune the height adjustment wherever I need it. Flip it around, we're going to work on the back, attach it to the middle pieces. Now that I've got the bottom platform made for the table saw, I got all my pocket holes drilled out on my vertical boards. It's time to start attaching them to the bottom base. All right. Got all those on. All right, so now I'm just gotta clamp and raise it where I want it. Those might be a little too tight, but that's fine. Ooh, wait. There we go. I can just clamp it where I want it. And I guess I probably should build the whole table out and then do this, but I know I want it 36 inches in height, right? So easy enough. Once I get that set, I can base everything else off of that. I might be wrong, might be right, who knows. But I'm just gonna go ahead and clamp some of these down as a temporary brace where I can put my platform on here, and we'll see how that works out. And it's much easier making it higher and then dropping it down rather than trying to start low and lift it up. I'll tell you that much. And then after wrestling around with it for a little bit, went ahead and kept everything clamped up and started screwing my screws for the front and the back, and then I'll come back for the horizontal braces because of how they're drilled in, and I'll show you that in a second. But because I'm screwing those in like that, when I go to get these boards, I can't screw them in, right? Because that's blocking it. So screw those in first, put these in place, and then screw those back in like that. And before we move on any further, I'm going to go ahead and paint this thing. That way I don't block the holes for the casters, or if I install the casters first and then try to paint it, it's just going to look messy. So honestly, can't go wrong either way, but I just can't wait to paint this thing. Did you know my favorite color is orange? You probably didn't. Might be kind of weird. Some people say it is, but I love it. I also think it'd be kind of good for this on the bottom, so you'll see it and you don't stub your toes, because sometimes I walk around in my garage without turning on the light because I'm lazy, you know? Yeah, I stub my toes, I kick things, say a few words. So we'll see. And after I was done painting the base, I went ahead and started the rest of the legs. That way I don't have to worry about taping or anything like that. So I went ahead and started the blue on the legs. Now it's time to start assembling them. And when the whole thing's put together, I'm going to go ahead and paint the rest of it. I'm definitely glad I upgraded. I don't know if you guys see my previous videos or see my frustration. This other drill bit I had was so dull and it wouldn't work. This Miles Craft one is a huge upgrade. It just cuts through like butter, just made these holes way quicker. Seriously happy I did it. Now it's time to start working on the casters. These come with this easy little template, so we'll see how easy it is. Let's see, got all kinds of good stuff here. So for this kit with the little installation template, it's got this little dotted line down here where it shows the floor. And I've seen someone talk about that before where they cut it off and then it made the wheels too tall. So I went ahead and tested it on a piece of scrap wood. And for me, it's going to be better if I do kind of cut that off and line it up that way, rather than just put it at the bottom here and do that. I need the wheels a little bit higher because I have this, cracks that I've got to go through when I'm moving in and out of the garage and stuff, so it's not 100% level. So for those of you who get this one, be aware that, yeah, you don't have to cut that off. You could just set it up like this, unless you want them a little higher, then start at that diagonal line. And it doesn't really make it that much harder to lift up in the end anyway. So let's get these installed. Let's try this out. And we're rolling. Woo! Easy peasy. Well, I was not prepared for this to fail. Rolling in the driveway worked good. Once it was in the garage, it was good. But this lip really caused me some trouble. I really had trouble getting in and out. So I think I'm going to get some different wheels and see what can happen. Maybe I can put some bigger wheels on these casters. So then I thought, oh, I just need some bigger wheels. So I added some 4-inch wheels to this here. But it didn't work as good as I thought. Going straight, they rolled really well. They held the weight, but don't have the clearance. Can't Doesn't spin all the way around, so I couldn't do a good turn or anything. I could only go forward and backwards. And then actually, those screws pulled out, so this was just a little too high for it. And I got sitting on blocks, but you can see when I have it down on the ground, I got good clearance. I got over 2 inches. I have these on blocks, so obviously this goes down a little bit more, but you can see it got the height I wanted. It just couldn't hold it, not at the right angle. The bolts cleared it. Anyway, we're gonna come up with a new solution. All right, guys, third time's the charm. I wasn't ready for it to fail, but I think I got it this time. I've been playing around with a couple ideas, but I think this is gonna be the most simple and best way. Just a simple little hinge, kind of make like a little lever action, and just lift it up like that. I tried it with a longer arm. It worked a little better, but takes a lot more room. And of course, I didn't attach that one. But anyways, like I said, that was just a prototype. And if you like this idea, let's go for the build.
And in an attempt to try not to make this video too terribly long, which I know it's going to end up that way, but I created a separate video showing how I created this caster system, and I'll put a link down in the description below. But long story short, this one works, and it works way better, especially after I changed the wheels. I had all four were swivels, and it was really hard to control because the bench was just too long. So I switched them out. Over by the table saw, I have two rigid wheels, and at the end, where my bandsaw and stuff is going to go, I have four swivels, so it's just much easier to control. So when you see the gray wheels, you'll know that, hey, I didn't lie. I changed the wheels because I needed two rigid ones, and they didn't have orange ones, which kind of sucks because I like the orange ones. But let's get back to the video.
And now the fun begins, because today we've got to work on the platforms for the miter saw and the planer that are going to go right in here. And the idea is I'm going to get some hinges to put on the back here, and then it's going to come up, and I'm going to have some French cleats on the front here. So pull this up, put a board down, and it's going to rest on there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now that I got everything all cut and drilled together, it's time to make sure that I can get it nice and level where I want it. This is the most time consuming part, but here's a little trick. Make sure you get some blocks with some clamps so you can kind of help make little micro adjustments to this and get it where you want it. So that way it's nice and flush. Like that. Give me just a little bit of clearance. Yeah. And this is definitely overkill, but if you like little details like me, then you're going to want to check this out. I'll put a link down in the description below for this router hinge, or this door hinge router tool thing. But we're going to go ahead and route this out a little bit so that way the pin will sit flush and everything in here. And now that that's routed out, all I gotta do is drill it in so I can attach these hinges. And for the front of this miter saw holder, or to hold the front of this base, I'm gonna go ahead and make some French cleats. So I'm gonna set my table saw up to 5 inches and rip this 3/4 inch down. Then I'm gonna set my blade to 45 degrees. Lock that in. And move my fence down to 2. And with those cut, I need to make 6 2-inch pieces. So set your blade up. We're going to run this through a few times. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Boom! And with our French cleats cut and painted, we're going to attach it to the support arm and then attach that to the base here. Again, just keeping it super simple. We're going to get the support arm, line it up where we want it, make sure it's level. Then you get your French cleat, line up at the base, and I'm just going to drill this in there. And then once we attach our miter saw, it's going to go up and down like a dream. Let's test it out. All right, miter saw is installed. Let me tell you, it works exactly like I thought it would. Drop it down, boom. You go pick it up, I'll use the handle and lock it in. Boom, quick, easy. works. And let's open this blade up. Put this board on here, and it has plenty of clearance. Look at that, just a little bit extra there. Pretty solid there, but yeah, this thing is flat. Now, lock it in. Ready to drop it down. I'll lift it by the handle. Boom, she's done. Put this back. And I'll have a cover to put on here. Easy peasy. Now, we gotta do the planer section. Alright, planer's all set up. We've got the miter saw set up. So now we gotta go over here, look at this table saw. Woo! We've got some work ahead of us today. So I got a full sheet of nice plywood here. I go ahead and cut off an end there, and I've used that as a temporary platform for my table saw right now. But I need to take that piece and I cut it into 3 pieces. I need to do the left for my table, the right side for my table, and then I'm gonna do the rest. The middle is gonna be the platform for my table saw here. Alright guys, moment of truth. Let's see how this fits. You guys think I did a dry fit test, or I just started gluing and nailing? Of course I did a dry fit test. I'm a little crazy, but not that crazy. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and good, nice smooth. Got all the clearance I need. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, let's check this one out. Boom, look at that. Alright. Now all I just need to get something to attach the table saw to the platform. But otherwise, she's pretty steady and solid. Now I need to make tops for these, or cut these out for the miter saw and the planer and all the other tools, right? But I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I've seen some where they have little hinges in the back and you lift it up, but I don't really like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut this out, and we're going to mark our center for this. I'm going to knock this out. Keep watching, you'll see. And then instead of measuring, I'm going to come under here and draw my line here. And then I can move it over 3/4 of an inch. And I know you guys believe I can cut a straight line, but believe it or not, I can't. So I got my straight edge set up here. But now it's time to get this thing out of retirement. So now that I got these pieces cut, I need to find a way to keep them in place, and I don't really want to just kind of hinge them. I want them to be their own separate piece. So I flipped it over. What I'm going to do is get this little 4-inch piece, and I'm going to put it at the end here at about a 5-degree angle. So that way, when I put it in place, all I have to do is slide it in, and it's going to get nice and tight and lock it in place, and there'll be no wiggle. Let me show you. So for now, I only need 4 pieces. I need 2 for the miter saw cover and 2 for the planer cover. The rest will come over time once I get my bandsaw and all the other good stuff. So anyways, I'm going to set my fence up to 4 inches. And I got a little scrap piece here, about 1.5 inches. So about 1.5 inches by 4 inches. Bust out a couple of these. And I'm just going to glue this because I don't want a whole bunch of nails, holes, or screw holes in this cover here. Make sure we get a little bit of that in there. Find my line, something in that general area. And we'll bring this down about 5 degrees. It intersects where I want it. And that's it. Just gotta let that glue dry. And at least for now, the frame is built and I got my most used tools on here and it's functional. Can use the table saw, move the fence over here, got the miter saw, the planer, and that's what I have right now and that's what I use. So eventually I'm gonna get the bandsaw and put it over in here. And then I also want to get some electrical to tie all this in instead of just use this little extension cord. And for now, I'm using my vacuum for a dust collection. But I do want to get a little system to kind of hook up to the table saw and everything all together in one central system. So that's what we'll do on part 2. So for those of you who stuck around to the end, thank you so much. Now again, like I said, follow me for part 2 because we're going to do a dust collection system. We're going to electrical. There's a whole lot more to this, but at least for now, I can use it. And here's an idea for you guys.